Welcome, welcome. Thank you, folks. Thank you for being here. I'm going to talk a little bit fast today. There are a lot of updates to go through today with Biamp, and we'll get going here. So right off the bat, we've updated NPX and QTX. So the NPX now, that's our paging station, has a compression meter that big help, right? It's going to be also used into Sarah as well. So that'll be coming up soon. Better audio from our paging systems. Now, before we had all these faults, if you're looking at your faults in a QTX system, and they were all listed out, and there was a lot of information, and a lot of information is good, but it's kind of tough to read through sometimes. So we've consolidated them so that they're a little bit easier to read, so you can ID issues and make decisions quicker. Um, we're also working with bulk information so you can control multiple controllers simultaneously, saving hours for setup. So, as we're growing these QTX systems, it's easier and easier to navigate. When Biamp bought the Cambridge QTX platform, or the company really, right? It was already a great setup, and what we've done is we've released our engineers to it and made things more and more efficient as we go through. So you can see that here. I mean, just by going through and making some efficiencies in the internal parts, right? Uh, Things are much faster, as you can see here, 58% faster to configure, and clearing the system 62%. So better performance, better experience, right? So initially, the QTX supported 55 controllers. We grew up to 90, and now, 250 controllers. So really large systems we can accommodate, and how big is 250 systems? I mean, that's 2 and a third Pentagon buildings. And please, if you have any opportunities where you've got two and a half Pentagon buildings, please let us know. We'd be happy to help you out. Also, be mindful that we are able to bring in some products that maybe you had to go elsewhere to get for eavesdropping protection with QTX. So, things like ductwork masking, right, and then masking with the wall and windows, doors. So we have more options now for privacy. We've made some great additions to our speaker lineup. One thing that we found out through our warehouse designer, if you're not familiar with that, it's support.biamp.com, design tools. We have our warehouse designer, and we found that there were some glaring needs in the loudspeaker realm. So, introducing the R15 3696. Three-way full range speaker, and it's compact, high speech intelligibility for paging and voice reinforcement, and it's a reduced price, right? So we're seeing a lot of efficiency from a lower price point, but still able to do music replication, speech intelligibility, and really take care of the job as needed. So this is a great slide here showing exactly where that fits in. It's a great paging speaker, right? So it's high speech intelligibility. There's still some musicality to be had if needed, background music, things like that. Now, aisles have been a challenge for audio for quite a while, right? A lot of reverberation, never a great place to put the speakers, a lot of reflective surfaces. You've got sound bleeding into the aisleways, and coverage, of course, can be an issue. There's a great slide here showing, it ebbs and flows from decent to poor and decent to poor because you've got all these wasted energy spots, right? So aisles are everywhere. I mean, they're everywhere. Train station, warehouses, hotels, just, go to a different building that's not your home. It's got an aisle, right? So introducing the CCA80, the constant coverage aisle speaker. This is a speaker, and the first speaker of its kind, specifically designed for aisles. It's got a really cool horn so that it covers the area that it's aimed at much better. High speech intelligibility, and actually, I will tell you that I was at the community the community factory 2 weeks ago, and they're telling us they're actually going to update this slide from a 4-to-1 throw ratio closer to an 8-to-1 throw ratio. So, throw sounds up to 8 times the mounting height. Compared to the 2-to-1 throw ratios of other loudspeakers, this is pretty huge. So that means that it's because of the way the horn's shaped, it actually shoots down and across, giving you constant coverage and great intelligibility throughout, right? So I don't know if I have a front view of the horn, but it is kind of it's a funky shaped horn, so that it does indeed shoot straight down and across. Let's take a look, see here. And a great slide that showed going straight down and across there. Um, Long reverberant aisles, fewer speakers needed. So instead of this ebboning and flowing, right, drops straight down and then it goes across, straight down and across. So now you've got minimum overlap and maximum intelligibility. Now, this also helps with designing your systems, right? As you're designing your systems, you want to have uh, your zones figured out, right? As you're designing your systems, right? So if you start from the middle with our aisle speaker and work outwards, now you can have more efficiency with your amplifiers, right? So now you can go ahead and say, all right, well, equally distant from the middle are these two zones here. All right, so that could be one channel, and then equally distant from there are these, and so on and so forth. And you can go ahead and now you can have more speakers on fewer channels. And certainly more efficient, right? So in the example they showed above, went from a 6-channel to a 3-channel need. Now we also have the option of mounting these aisle speakers back to back, and so they call that the CCA 80D for dual. All right, so you've got that one mounting point to the ceiling, as you see here, and then you have the 2 speakers, so you've got really great coverage in an aisle. So let's show an example of that, right? If you've got back-to-back symmetrical horns, you've got this whole open area of just missing audio and obviously no speech intelligibility because there's no audio, right? Well, when we've got those 2 speakers back-to-back, the aisle speakers, now you've got full coverage throughout. Again, first and only speaker specifically built for aisles. We've made big strides with our speakers, right? And not only our speakers, but how we're processing these, So Rashid, our CEO, is very big on getting integrators, getting in, getting out, getting paid. Now, we've actually gone ahead and built a loudspeaker library with all the speakers we make. All right, so all 637 loudspeaker profiles. No more worrying about EQs and filters. You drop the speaker in, and it's got all the filtering and the equalization you need in place. They call it Alamos. All the loudspeaker applications and mode options supported. That's a mouthful, so let's just call it Alamos. Alamos has a lot in there, right? So you've got EQs and taking care of power, things like that. So that's just a little bit, you can kind of see in the background a little bit what's in those blocks that you might see. Now, we have these new amplifiers. They're called Volterra, and you may be familiar with the Volterra A. The Volterra A was the analog option. Now we've got the Volterra D. So not only is it just an amp, it's a loudspeaker controller, an amplified loudspeaker controller. So it can be full part of a Tessera Biamp ecosystem, or you can use it independently with the amplified loudspeaker controller. Now, it being D, that means that it can accept AVB and Dante directly to it. And they're available in larger formats. If you recall, the Volterra A's are 2 and 4 channels, and they max out at 600 watts. The Volterra Ds are 4 or 8 channels and max out. They go from 1200 to 2400 watts. So a whole heck of a lot more power. Great for music distribution. And I mean, one rack unit, and you've got amplification and amplified loudspeaker controller all built into one. So very efficient use of space. And not only that, it's actually got backup for power over PoE. So as you see here, right, there's a lot of if you're used to using amplified loudspeaker controllers, it should be a very seamless changeover for you or move to it. So the same SKU supports AVB and Dante, and of course AES67, smaller footprint. Um, Obviously, this can fit into many applications, right? If you're doing distributed audio and you've got a network run and a space to put one rack unit, and run cable, you've really expanded your campus or your offering to your clients, right? So the Volterra D is very competitively priced, and this is a great slide here. It kind of shows you price per channel. Um, You've got the D 1200.4, 1200.8. And now when you position us against the competitors, right, when you talk about the QSCs and the Crowns and the PowerSofts of the world, well, we're really competitive and much more effective in the cost, right? Much more efficient in the cost. So when would you use the venue tune that's built in the ALC, right, versus Tessera? Maybe you're just very familiar with Tessera and the open architecture. Makes all the sense. Let's go ahead and include that new Volterra D in that ecosystem. Maybe you're not that familiar with it and you're just doing a quick deploy of some background music, things like that. Then U-Tune makes all the sense in the world. So you have a lot of flexibility with how you want to incorporate these new amplifiers, these Volterra Ds. They're more than just amplifiers into the situation, right? Um, Yes, that being said, Volterra D can host Tessera blocks and even use external expanders, TechX controllers, paging stations. So it still ends up being pretty versatile, even if you're not using it with a Tessera Forte. But you want to get a little bit more into it and a little bit more of a complicated system or a little bit more finely tuned, then certainly again, Tessera makes all the sense in the world. So what if we took all the processing of the Tessera Forte, power the ALC, and put them all in the one rack size U. Now we've got the Volterra D, which stood for digital, by the way. I meant to mention that earlier. But now we have the Volterra DM. The M stands for more. So now you've got a Tessera Forte actually built into here as well. Right, so we've got the Volterra 4M and the 2M. So those are line level inputs, ALC outputs, same amount of Dante and AVB. Just different physical IOs, right? Inputs and outputs when we say IOs, by the way. One rack unit with a DSP amplifier, everything dramatically simplifies the installation. You slap this in a rack and then start configuring. And now you're not wiring between products as well. So really takes a lot of the variables out of the equation, right? So this is another great slide here. Now, when you think about the Volterra DM, and we talk about the efficiency, not only are we talking about efficiency of space and all that, but you're not buying a separate DSP and a separate amplifier or any of those extra parts and pieces and extra rack mounts, this, that, and the other thing. It's one unit that does it all. So it really shows the efficiency and price and cost here. And again, we talked about the value, right? You add $1,000 for a DSP. That's pretty stinking good in this realm here. All right. So again, choose Sarah Forte if you need AEC, over 32 networked audio channels and over 4 analogs. Otherwise, Volterra DM makes all the sense in the world. So great for paging, distributed audio, what have you. All right. So there have been some updates to Sarah. When you go ahead and put a Dante block in, automatically prompts you, hey, take a look at your media clock and how you're going about doing that. We receive a lot of tech support calls about this, and even people who have been doing this a minute will go ahead and put a configuration together and totally forget to do the media clock. So it's a nice, healthy reminder. Make sure you're setting your media clocks correctly, and everybody wins, right? Also, this is really cool. Before, in the before times, if you had Dante blocks into Sarah, you could label them, the inputs and the outputs into Sarah, and then go ahead and load your file, and it would go ahead and load load into Audinate as well and into the Dante. Well, into Dante controller. Well, if you made control any changes in Dante, it would override, and you'd get this back and forth, and it'd just be real complicated and kind of a pain in the butt. So what has been an evolvement is now in real time, if you make changes to the channels and Audinate, it happens into Sarah and vice versa. So they happen in conjunction at the same time, keeping it way cleaner and easier for the integrators, right? Going ahead and making these configurations. This here is probably one of my favorite updates. This should have probably been gone about a decade ago, more or less. Without getting into it, they finally are. And so no longer will you have to check both Tessera servers and Tessera Forte and never show me that prompt again. It'll just never show again. And we can all clap and applaud when that happens because I know I'll be excited. All right. The other thing that's really cool too, as you're commissioning a system, is yeah, obviously you have the need to monitor and see what these meters are doing. Well, we've increased the hold time so that it's it's a little bit friendlier for you as you're commissioning these systems to see how audio is performing in the ecosystem. Let's see. We've had updates to the paging system. So 10 button paging system now has was it the 10 button modes, so you can go ahead and show less codes or more codes, and a lot more flexibility with the system. All right, Forte X and the dedicated ports. So the Forte X, we kind of call this the server mode, right? A lot of times you have clients and end users that, really have their network divvied up and, never shall the two meet or cross, right? So maybe they've got control on one side and VoIP here and AVB and Dante on this VLAN. Well, we can now go ahead and again, we kind of call it the server mode, and we can go ahead and isolate each of these ports so that, again, never the two shall meet if need be. So you can have control on one and VoIP on the other, AVB on one and Dante on the other. Maybe it's not necessary for all your clients, but certainly useful when you need it. Now, if you've got a large configuration, and this should look all too familiar, got a bunch of filters and a bunch of EQs, and it's a whole lot, right? Well, with Alamos, we're streamlining it. Now, a lot of those filters and EQs are all built in, so that's great. You can go ahead and slap those in, and then it ends up being a lot more conservative, but we still have all these other processing blocks, and a lot of them are just one channel. And maybe you're copying and pasting the DSP information over and over and over again, or you're EQing each one or what have you. Well, now we've got multi-channel blocks. So instead of having this very cumbersome looking configuration like you may see here, we can go ahead and drop in a multi-channel block, and they can support up to 32 channels. And as you see here, lots of filters, EQs, delays that we can use. So faster signal processing, speeds up programming, right? You're dropping in a multi-block, just makes your day a lot easier. Want to talk about the new crowd mics. So it's if you're not familiar with crowd mics, it's a way of integrating users' cell phones, maybe in a larger environment, right? So that they can actually act as an auxiliary microphone into the environment. So great use case, maybe higher education, where you've got students who are obviously very familiar with using the smartphones in front of them. They can join an event and then use their microphone and their actual camera. I mean, sorry, phone, and be part of that ecosystem so that they actually heard throughout. So it can do a lot more than just that. It can do polling, right? So maybe you've got a teacher asking questions and wants to see, hey, what does everyone think the answer is? Or maybe you want to open up a channel so that people can ask questions through messaging. So people can actually message the moderator and work that way as well. Let's see. What's very cool is we can also very easily incorporate the client's logos and brandings. That way, it's a nice, easy overlay and just shows, looks like it's part of their ecosystem, right? It's very easy to join these. There's lots of prompts. You can, they're free apps, whether you're using iPhone or an Android. You can join through QR codes and even uh, e- IP addresses in a web browser, right? Very flexible, very easy to use, very user friendly. Again, press and hold to talk, using your cell phone as a way to become a participant. All right, simple, flexible speaker engagement. Looks like we covered the basis there. Okay. All right. So, what is also coming down the pike, and I don't know if these dates are super accurate because it's August now, and we haven't seen them just yet. But I would say, shoot for September, October. But the control app, Impera Control app, is now going to be available on tablets and phones. Right here, we see the iOS platform. It'll be available in the App Store. Again, I don't know if July is the right label for this slide here, but we'll just move on from there. Now, if you are used to using our control system and touch panels or any control system, right? You get the processor online and you get the glass online, and then you make them all communicate and you're going back and forth, and sometimes it involves some reboots of the glass. When I say glass, I'm talking about touch panels, whether in wall or on surface, right? And all too often you take that unbended paper clip and you go and reboot it, and then you do this, that, and the other thing. Well, that's all fine and well, and hey, we even include that handy little paper clip feature. But now we just offer a nice, easier, cleaner way of doing it. So you're not taking out the wall every time. And it's just a soft button to get into the settings of the glass. We are adding SSH device control to our control platform, and this really opens up our Impera control platform to so much more out in the electronics world. So you'll see that our control platform will be growing just because of that alone. Subscription sync. Oh, this is great. So you can incorporate, before if you were using our control system and Tessera, they kind of felt a little polarized, maybe not so much the same part of, the same company even. What's really cool now is we are able to uh, incorporate Tessera systems into Impera Control much easier, much cleaner. It's just an easier integration now. Now, we also see that we're finally introducing time-based events as well. So, if you need to tell a room to turn on at a certain time and shut off at a certain time, we can certainly now make sure that happens based off of those time and date events. And of course, NTP, the network time protocol, helps us when we're doing that, so that Tuesday at 2 o'clock is indeed Tuesday at 2 o'clock for all the devices. They all know that the time is indeed the time, right? Without reliability, control is nothing. And again, we are talking about how before to Sarah and in our control system, it kind of felt a little polarized, and now it's a lot easier again to import design files. Also, speaking of which, we can go ahead and what's really cool is that this object ID inspector allows this control list to be exported. So obviously, we hope you're using Biamp Impera control, but should you be using someone else as well, it's a nice, easy way of seeing your instance tags and which blocks are controllable, so that as you're integrating control into a Biamp ecosystem, it's nice and easy integration. Of course, we want you to use Impera and Project Designer. You can go ahead and upload right into it, right? And then pulls blocks in for you. So now we're getting again much easier and less polarized. They're more part of the same ecosystem. So mixing blocks, source selection, and from what we were being told, they will continue to expand more and more. Also, if the block that you need isn't available today, we have the custom TTP custom command support, right? So adds any command to your Impera system. making this much more flexible. We heard you loud and clear as we showed everybody the cool Biamp launch, and everyone asked, and I'm pretty sure everyone asked, "Hey, why can't we control this?" Well, we heard you, and it's coming. So now you can have a Biamp system that's been commissioned through launch, right? The room's been tuned, and now you can go ahead and have some third-party control. Obviously, and hopefully Biamp and Para, but also otherwise, things like room privacy mute level, Bluetooth, things like that. So, finally coming down the pike, so to speak. And again, adding control, especially through our Impera platform, very easy to do. You pick the TSP, pick Biamp Launch, and include that. Also, very cool, we are introducing control for the QTX. Perhaps you've got a need where, you've got the need to fluctuate volume for background music in a certain zone, what have you. Now we're able to do that and offer a nice a nice package rather than just a knob somewhere in a closet corner, right? QTX software also letting configuring audio sources for background music. We can import that into Sarah, drag and drop these controls right into the UI, right? Select the source when you press the button, and now you've got a much more flexible QTX system than you might have had before. Very user friendly. Max Connect is our bring your own meeting solution that is very there's a lot to talk about here. So its ability to it's a box you get online, right? You connect your HDMI's, you connect to the DSP, and it's a way to wirelessly and wired share content. It's really a way of meeting without maybe even necessarily needing a UC platform, right? You can share content, you can whiteboard, you can do it all internally, and then of course even introduce a UC call and expand that even further. Right. It also supports dual display. Studies are finding that most conference rooms, if they haven't gone that route, are heading that route. So, it allows for dual display support. There's a moderator, so you can go ahead and pick what's being seen. Maybe participant two's got some great content. Participant three maybe is not so much on the marks. So moderator includes participant two's content, right? So here's a good slide of what the rear of this looks like here. So you see it supports the two dual displays, multiple USB and network connections, right? And this is just showing different ways we can possibly configure it, certainly using DSPs or video bars or audio bars, right? All right, so now they've increased the amount of participants to 30, which is great. So great opportunity for classrooms or large meeting rooms in general. Let's talk about Workplace, Evoco Workplace 2.0. It's the new portal that all Evoco room booking and hoteling is going to happen through. So it's all through the cloud workplace. Many improvements are coming, and this is really where we're pointing things towards the workplace here. So easier flow for people. They can see the buildings, the floors, the rooms, the desks, and people users use the workplace app to I'm sorry, no, the Workplace app is used to connect the devices, and you don't even need to connect a Microsoft Calendar if you don't want to. You can work independently of it, which is pretty cool. Reduce the amount of Microsoft permissions from 19 to 2. That's a whole heck of a lot. So it definitely simplifies the configuration when we're working with the Microsoft infrastructure. But also now we're introducing support for Google Workspace. So if you're working with a client that works in that realm, you've got that flexibility now. So integrating with both Microsoft and Google, even though Microsoft is the market leader, yeah, we're seeing that market share is indeed increasing. Also with scheduling, we have a new insights page, and this is great for people who are trying to see, maybe these rooms are being used or not used often, or maybe they want to see the hours or what have you. There's a whole bunch of statistics and information that's available through the insights page for the admin of the eVoco booking system. So date range, building floors, office utilization rates, bookings per day. Oh, and you can export to a Excel file, which is nice. Um, and why would people need that? And that makes sense. Like maybe you just don't know. Well, they want to see if the rooms are efficient. Do they need? Is there a need for more rooms and desks? Which areas are more popular? Efficiencies. Also, this overview screen's really great. So maybe you want some wayfinding. You can go ahead and the lobby throw in and display in the lobby and then use this GUI, and it shows you not only the rooms and where they are, but their availability and their upcoming availability. Well, this room's red, not available, and won't be available till 3. This huddle room over here is orange. That means it's going to be booked within 10 minutes. But hey, look, there's this whole section that's green, and you go take 2 lefts and the third right, and you're there, right? So, really pretty cool, and offers more to your end users. The overview screen. See custom code. Okay, yeah. So it's very user friendly, easy to make happen, right? Um, yeah, and it syncs to your calendar, of course. Workplace bookings. All right, so that's pretty cool. This is how if your facility managers and your receptionists want to see what's booked, let's take a look and kind of show you a little bit underneath here. So it gives you an overview of what's going on and what's upcoming, and you can go ahead and look for certain rooms or any desks for your end users. Um, let's see here. So it is very secure, so you can use this with folks that have very high security demands. It's very well tested. It meets the highest standards. Um, eVoco Workplace. All right, so users can now filter how how many people are in the room or going to be in the room. Maybe they need a microphone or a projector. They can go ahead and filter right through this app. So as they're trying to find a room, they can open up the app and then just it's all right in front of them. Very, very user friendly. You can see a floor plan and even a room card with all the details per room. In this example here, it shows us the green room's on the ground floor, currently available all day. And if you need an interactive whiteboard, it's there for you. Um, you can also create a meeting directly from the Workplace app, so that and it syncs between systems, right? So if you book it here, and you're a Microsoft house, it'll show up in Microsoft. If you book it here and your Google house, same vice versa. So it syncs with those calendars. You can book a desk, create new meetings, and add rooms to meetings, things like that. Also, this is a pretty cool slide of how we mix the NASO, the Clio, and the QR codes. Now, the NASO is this wall-mounted or glass-mounted piece here, right? That very clearly shows you the rooms and its availability and very easy user interface. The Clio, this is a smaller form factor here, great for cubicles or tabletops, and nice, easy to use interface. But maybe you've got some open desk space. Well, you can actually book those out by QR codes, so the people can open up the app, book the desk, and then away they go, right? So also something worth mentioning, right? So uh, Biamp is very good about taking our engineers and releasing them on stuff that we've purchased or things we've already had and updating them and making them more efficient and more responsive. So, for instance, here we see the new NASO with an updated user interface and it's more responsive. Very clean look. What's nice about this that isn't in the slide that I'll add to it is the lights for the rooms. Number one, they're integrated as part of the unit, so they're not an add-on that maybe has this flimsy little ribbon to attach to. They are sturdy and part of the scheduler. But also, what I personally dig about it is if you've got a hallway full of these, it doesn't look like you're looking down a Las Vegas strip. You can very clearly see what rooms are booked or available without it being obnoxious or really, put in front of you like, hey, there's a bunch of lights in the hallway. Again, nice clean look, very European. I believe Evoco was what? That wasn't Swiss. It's a European lineage, but very clean look, right? So as you can see here, available till now. Here's the boardroom. Here's the green room. Different ways you can configure how you want them to look. There's some great updates to launch I want to talk about. So before we were relegated to the CIC6s. You had to press the launch button after you connected everything, and the CIC6s, excuse me, were the only option. Well, now we've opened that up quite a bit. So whether you want some low profile IC6s, some pendant speakers, on wall, long throw column speakers, now you've got those options just by pressing the launch button to go ahead and tune that room. And with those options are new bundles that correspond to it, right? So as you see here, there's and Biamp's pretty good about how we label things here. So meeting room bundle X using for a medium-sized room using the X400 and ceiling speakers and wall speakers, and so it's all very well labeled for you, and but more bundles for you, and bundles save money and time, and so we're pretty excited about that. Now it's been a recurring theme that Biamp's been re-engineering or going in and looking for efficiencies, and well, with that, we've improved the mic performance in launch, using artificial intelligence to help with that, right? But we also did extensive testing. There's a video here that I pulled out, but out in our headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon, we had this really nice all hands room that we completely got rid of and built an anechoic chamber amongst other testing facilities to improve mic performance, and we're seeing that now. Now, also with the new artificial intelligence, we're eliminating noise and using deverberation. Yet we created a word, deverberation. But when you take noise and reverb out of the equation, microphones start hitting well past their spec, right? So now we're seeing very efficient, much more efficient usage of our microphones. All right, yes, and people love it. Parlay is so we have the processing library. We talked about Alamos, but there's also microphone library bank, right? So you can go ahead and put in the TCMX with noise reduction. So quicker way of building and commissioning your systems. Now, if you've ever used Conference Room Designer, probably all agree that it's a very versatile, useful tool. Keeps things simple. Well, we kind of saw that, people saw the red and said, well, shoot, all right, we're assuming that means the microphones aren't picking up there. And that's just not accurate. It just means it's not optimal where it's red. Obviously, it's going to be better where it's green. I mean, that's just, common sense, right? Well, we've kind of restructured how we're doing that because we don't want to imply that they're not going to pick up in that location. So as you see, the difference between the last slide and this current slide is we just got rid of the red, right? So that it's just visually a little bit different, and people aren't thinking like, hey, there's not gonna be any audio picked up there. All right, this is a pretty cool feature. So the EX USB is great. It's this little form factor. One cat cable gives you USB connection with connectivity with mute sync, right? But also gives you the Bluetooth. Well, some sites don't want any extra radio, and Bluetooth is radio, and they don't want any extra radio in their facilities. So this becomes a non-option. Well, we are now introducing the EX USB. The EX USB eliminates the Bluetooth, but still keeps basically the same form factor, gives you the ability to extend your USB into, from Biamp, Again, you've got the mute sync, and it's now we see that's a $780, and the EXUBT is $1,000. So a real cool, flexible, real cool piece that offers us some flexibility. Excuse me. Now, I want to talk about the new parlay bar. So our parlay bar, our audio bar, has 27 microphones in it. Well, what if you turn that on its side and mount it above the conference room table? 27 beam tracking microphones over a conference room table is an audio guy's dream come true for the most part. So what's really cool is now we're able to mount that parlay bar. It comes with everything you need except for the camera. And see if it shows. Yeah, here, yeah, all the mounting hardware you need. So now we have the CBC 2500, and that's the ceiling parlay bar, right? And let's think about efficiencies in competition. You know, if you're using other competitors, you still have to have a DSP and all these extra parts and pieces to make it happen. Never mind just the material for mounting it. So we ended up, showing a big cost savings. So it's efficient and it's really strong option for conference room tables. Here's another cool update. So our camera controller is being updated so that now there are more features, right? So audio settings, video settings, things like that. We didn't, some of the basic video settings we didn't necessarily have as an option the previous iterations of camera controller. So the software itself is a bit more robust. But now we took our camera option, the Vinny 250, and now the Vinny 280 is elevated. So we have an 8 megapixel camera for people up close with 120 degree view, right? But then a 50 megapixel camera for people furthest from the bar, and of course the intelligent auto framing. So with the 50 megapixel addition, now we're able, according to Microsoft Room standards, we're able to very cleanly cover large boardrooms up to and including 28 feet. Right. Now you can use this camera independent of a bar if you want. It actually has a microphone built into it, 5 microphones built into it, and electronic PTZ, AI auto framing, USB-C connectivity. Great clean camera, right? And again, the audio is actually pretty good for if you think about how small those microphones must be, the audio is pretty good for it, and there's 5 microphones built into there. Again, we talked about more options in the video realm, so you can more finely tune your video with the software, as you see on the slide here, and that applies to our VBC 2500s as well, and our Vinny 250. All right, but now we took that Vinny 280 and we put it in a bar, and we upgraded that bar. So it's not just the VBC 2500, there's more to it. Pretty excited about this. So some of the basics, right? There's retention clips for running your cable. There's a larger spot to run your cables through. Now, this port here that used to be really just an output for assisted listening devices or assisted listening systems is now bi-directional. So you can take an analog audio input and really open up the flexibility and use cases for these video bars. Not only that, now it's got a network jack and we've opened up the API. So that means more control, audio level, audio mute, microphone mute, privacy, camera PTZ, presets, camera mute, all through third-party control, including Biamp and Para control. Also opens up how we can monitor these through the cloud now, right? Again, includes a 50 megapixel camera or the Vinny 280, and now that Parlay VBC 2800. Now we've got a great option for large boardrooms. Also, should be, bundles are kind of the name of the game with Biamp, and we've got there we go. Sorry, I had a little blue spinny action here. All right, so now we have some more bundles as well. So that Vidi 2800, or the VBC 2800 with our Lenovo UCC platform. So we've got either Teams or Zoom. And if you're not aware of our new Lenovo offering, we're doing the touch panel a little bit different in prior iterations, and we still have it as an option. The USB-C cord's hardwired to the panel, and then you run that over to the core. Well, now you can actually run a cat cable between the two, so that opens it up to you know running it on the wall or on the floor, running your cable. But also there's an HDMI ingest at the panel, so it ends up being quite a versatile piece. So if you're not aware of that upgraded option from Biamp, now hopefully you are. All right, and as you see here, here's some bundles here. So you've got all the microphones, cameras, and speakers you need, including your Zoom or Teams, $8,300. All right, we see another bundle here is the VBC 2500, and again, either Team or Zooms, and includes the promo and the price as well. Another bundle is the large Forte X bundle with that upgraded Lenovo package as well, and again, and all the flavors you want as long as it's Teams or Zoom. All right, Biamp Workplace. This is where we're heading. Everything's gonna be starting to get pointed towards Workplace. It is our cloud-based centralized platform. Think of it like Sage View on steroids. So it takes everything from the best parts of SageView, the best parts of Evoca Workplace, and makes it all this one point of contact, right? So now you've got one app. You can monitor Devio, Tessera, Evoco, your bookings, everything all in one platform. You can, as a user, right, as an integrator, maybe you've got clients, in this slide here, we're seeing FedEx, Coca-Cola, and Bank of America, and they like you to make sure you're managing those accounts. Well, you can easily switch between them and, and see what you've incorporated in their ecosystem. All right, you can monitor all sorts of stuff, models, firmware, serial IP, and you can run launch, you can reboot devices, you can update firmware from the comfort of your own couch or wherever you're holding your smartphone at that point. Initially, as you see here, here's a big list of devices that'll be supported, and again, that's the goal, is to get everything towards Workplace. So what you don't see here is likely in the works. Let's see, all sorts of insights, right? And we're gonna migrate the Evoco scheduling over to Biamp Workplace. So again, it's one app to rule them all. This is kind of cool. If you've got a use case where you need to actually book parking spots, we're going to include that with workplace bookings as well. There'll be workplace license management, do that right within the portal. So for booking, for management, for Booking Plus, if you've got a lot of extra things you want to go on, or and managing and monitoring. Let's see here. So yeah, again, we're transitioning everything over to Workplace or the Workplace booking app, right? And then there'll be an API for that, and that'll be great for integration monitoring. Maybe you've got a third party that uses the API of devices to monitor it. We can go ahead and integrate those as well. Let's see. Workplace ready. Yep, be extraordinary. So that is that's a good chunk of what we're offering today, or the updates that were put in front of us from Infocom. Now, do we have any questions or anything that we could go over?
Yeah, nothing in the chat.
Anything I missed that you think that you saw, Vinny?
No, if there's any questions, please feel free to drop it into the chat. I'll be glad to answer them, but hopefully the presentation was so good, there's no questions. Again, Biamp's coming out with a lot of stuff. If anybody wants to dive in any of those details more, reach out to your RSM or one of us, and we'd be glad to do a deep dive as far as what we know is what's coming out or any particular product. Terrence, good job.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time, and again, please reach out to us if we can do anything for you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time.